people, inspires people, elevates people, causes people to treat each other more sensitively and decently, then art is good. To the extent that art glorifies death, to the extent that art pulls people away from others and into a self-destructive tailspin, then I think art is bad. I mean,
I just listened to what you said and substituted the word religion.
Fair enough. Absolutely. There are horrible religious people. Religion has done great damage. And in the final analysis, I mean, there is the good. And there are many paths to the good. And there are no assurances that the path that you are taking will lead to the good unless you make sure it leads to the good.
Yeah, the problem
The good to me is Hillel, is the do not do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. That to me is the good. And it happens to come from a rabbi, but it's not particularly religious. It's more just ethics. To me, religion, although it has a lot of beauty like art, it has inspired so much killing, so much more than pornography, and so much hate. It's hard for me to vote for religion against pornography. I guess I try to find a way to be spiritual and to be in touch with my own religious roots and also appreciate the body, the senses.
Well, if I had to take, say, a sample of people whose lives were immersed in pornography and take a sample of people whose lives were in religion, I would expect that the people whose lives were immersed in religion generally tend to have better family lives, more solid marriages, better relations with their children.
But then let me ask you something, Luke. Where did we get all these women who basically come from very religious Midwest families?
They
Right.
go into pornography.
Yes, I
Yeah,
find
that's
that...
true.
What has religion taught these women?
Well, religion can be done horribly, as like love can be a disaster for some people. Love can be the worst thing that ever happens to some people.
Yeah.
And so can God, and so can religion. There's absolutely nothing that cannot be taken to a perverse extent. I find it fascinating how so many porn stars come from backgrounds in Roman Catholic day schools, for instance.
And Baptist.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, from fundamentalist religious backgrounds. I mean, I am, example A. My father is a Christian theologian, a Christian evangelist, and part of the attraction in pornography to me is the flight from that background, the flight from God, the flight from religion, the flight to rebellion, the opportunity to flip a middle finger to the world. I absolutely understand those desires and in part live them out through my explorations of pornography. But in the final analysis, you have to use something that I studied at UCLA in economics, which is margin analysis. What will be the effect of like a little bit more of something on a person's life? So what would be the effect of taking, say, someone to church on Sunday morning, and I'm not a Christian, so I don't have an agenda here, versus the effect of giving them a 2-hour anal gangbang movie? How are people going to come out of that? Those two experiences, if we gave
One
them a
is going to
choice.
be an asshole, and the other one is going
Which
to
one?
be a religious fanatic. That's what it's going to be.
I thought they'd both be
That's what the
assholes.
history of the world shows us.
I mean, you say an anal gangbang movie, and actually, I mean, I've said many times that I just am sick of the porn industry emphasizing anal. And I believe it's because they made a deal with the police a while ago to not do certain other things, certain taboo things,
Right.
like incest fantasies
Right.
and underage fantasies and golden showers, fisting, certain things like that. And they said, okay, the one taboo thing we can do is anal. So now it's all anal all the time, which is actually much more unhealthy for people than just watching like an incest fantasy. I mean, more unhealthy for the performers and more unhealthy for the people watching who think that anal sex is just easy. I mean, they don't see all the preparation that is often involved. They just see the act, and it's usually very rough, and it's definitely, I think, rough on people's minds to see that so much. But I think that's partly because the porn industry made this deal with the police, and because they're at a certain point now where they're just trying to do the most extreme in terms of that. So, I I don't know about an anal gangbang. But
you're referring to a 1980 memo from, I think it was a Mormon judge, I believe it was Mormons or Roman Catholics who helped draft a memo that was circulated by the Los Angeles Police Department forbidding incest, bestiality, certainly child porn,
Right.
defecation.
But not just child porn, but representation.
Right. And so this was a memo that went out around 1980, and the industry has basically had an agreement with the Los Angeles Police Department that it would not venture into these realms.
That's when I left the city.
Right, and now you're starting to see those boundaries being pushed in the last few years as President Clinton has called off federal prosecutions for obscenity, so now you're having the occasional return to rape scenes, you're having fisting at times, you're having golden
pissing,
showers.
You're having shitting,
right.
you're having all of that
bondage
stuff.
scenes with sex.
Bondage scenes with
Yeah.
sex, yeah. The pornography
Well, I
industry,
hope that we do get into other things so they get off of
yeah,
this all
because-
anal all the time.
because this stuff, the anal sex, is dangerous, and Lieutenant Lloyd Martin, the great child pornographer himself, who went around with pictures with his co-host there and was showing pictures to everybody, had one of the greatest child pornography collections in the world, this asshole.
And probably
Asshole
went
of
to
a man.
church on
This was a
Sundays.
man who used to take children and bring them up to Malibu and hang them over the cliff. Yeah, you don't know that about him.
No.
And hang them over the cliff and say, did somebody touch your penis? Did somebody touch your pee-pee?
Well, I know that he was just a profoundly...
That's an awful
profoundly
business.
destructive,
The police
vicious.
business is an awful business with high suicide rates and high killing rates. An awful business which is about 100 times worse and more awful than pornography. Let me tell you, the cops have killed more people in this country. Our armies have killed more people in this country than any pornographer ever has. Having said that, somebody's got to look at us.
Somebody's got to look at us. That's true.
Because
And that's
otherwise
a
we
good
got a
thing.
problem.
That's a good thing. And I don't know if I'm part of the pornography industry. I guess so. I guess I'm sort
Well,
of
some people
on the
would call you a
periphery. Yes,
pornographer.
some people have called me a pornographer.
Certainly they've
In
called
fact,
me a
Dr. Laura
pornographer.
called me a pseudo-professional
And
porn
all
queen.
I've done is what this guy does. Somebody sends me an email or a letter, and you're fucking a dog, I print it.
There you go.
I don't know. I
All
just
right.
want to look at it.
Yeah.
So.
And I do think
I'm
that
not
one
against
of
it,
one of the
Luke. You
problems
know that.
with pornography has been that
Bad
because
filming.
it's so taboo
Bad
and
lighting.
we just don't have our best and our brightest involved.
Right.
You know, so that's a problem. You have people
It's-
that are not that sophisticated, people that haven't been trained.
Yeah, and with all the technology they have, it's the only film business. Like, imagine that you did NYPD and you actually shot the person, right? Pornography is the only business that doesn't use technology to make
fake
it
it.
safe and fake it.
Right.
And we should, because we shouldn't just be fucking people. It's not nice. We don't know
What kind of fucking are you talking about?
anal fucking
Oh.
and all that kind of shit. I can duplicate it all with a dildo and some cameras and a little blurring, and it looks real. You know? But nobody has to get AIDS.
It is the most likely way to spread HIV is through unprotected, rough anal sex, and that's what they've been emphasizing. So hopefully now that they're breaking some other taboos, they'll get off of it a little bit. And now that they have a gadfly like you, Luke. Although they seem to just kind of be thriving on dissing you. I mean, this Gene Ross's whole website is all about how awful you are. Someday Luke Ford will be silenced. Actually, that's from somebody who calls himself a friend of yours, Roger Jacobs.
Right.
He says you're in a suicide mission against the adult entertainment industry. And your style of gossip mongering is report now, verify later. Gene Ross calls you a pen-wielding Rosemary's baby.
Whoa.
Talk about Satan there, honey. Whoa.
God, Gene, that's pretty
And your mother looks at this stuff, too, back in
My poor
Australia.
mother.